Stop. Just stop for a second. Put the megaphone down. Stop the yelling. Stop the "I'm counting to 3" threats. And please, for the sake of your sanity, stop believing that being tough is the same thing as being effective. Did you know that every time you lose your cool and scream at your child to just listen for once, you are actually rewiring their brain to shut you out even faster next time? It's a physiological survival mechanism, not defiance, and you are accidentally training them to ignore you until you reach a boiling point. We have a crisis in the United States right now. Over 80% of parents in cities like Los Angeles and Chicago report feeling completely overwhelmed by their children's behavior. But in Japan, things look very different. Japanese children are consistently ranked as some of the most well-behaved, respectful, and emotionally regulated in the world. But it's not because of strictness in the way we think of it. In fact, Japanese parents rarely raise their voices. They don't use timeouts as a primary tool, and they certainly don't engage in the power struggles that define the American dinner table. Today, I am going to pull back the curtain on the Shitsuke method, the exact cultural framework that produces calm children without the constant battles. I'll show you why your current approach is actually creating the naughty behavior you're trying to stop, and I will give you the precise 4-week roadmap to transform your home into a place of peace. Let's look at the numbers, because they are, frankly, terrifying. A recent study found that nearly 70% of American parents admit to yelling at their kids at least once a day. And yet, only 12% of those same parents say it actually works in the long run. It's a cycle of insanity. We do what doesn't work harder, hoping for a different result. In Japan, that number is incredibly low. Only about 15% of parents report needing to use loud verbal discipline. Why the massive gap? Because we are fundamentally misunderstood about what discipline means. Think about a situation you probably faced this morning. Let's say you're in Miami. It's 8 a.m. and your son, let's call him Robert, refuses to put on his shoes. You're late for work. Your coffee is cold. And you snap. You say, "Robert, put your shoes on right now or no iPad for a week." Result? Robert has a meltdown. You feel like a failure, and you're still late. This is the power struggle trap, and it's destroying the parent-child bond. Or maybe you're at a grocery store in Houston, and your daughter, Sarah, wants a box of sugary cereal. You say, "No, it's bad for you." She starts screaming, and you say, "Because I said so." Result? A public scene, a spike in your cortisol, and a child who learns that might makes right. If this feels familiar, you are not alone, but you are accidentally teaching your children 3 things. 1, that communication is about volume, not value. 2, that rules are arbitrary and based on your mood. And 3, that they cannot trust you to stay calm when things go wrong. Over time, this creates the defiance loop, where children become more impulsive, more anxious, and significantly less likely to cooperate. Researchers at Harvard have tracked this for over 20 years, and the data is clear. Children raised in high-stress, high-yelling environments have lower executive function. They struggle more in school, and they have a much harder time forming healthy relationships later in life. This is why we have to talk about the golden period, the ages between 0 and 6. This is when the prefrontal cortex is literally being wired like a circuit board. Every time you react with anger, you are soldering a fight-or-flight response into their brain. But if you apply the Japanese principles, you are soldering reflection and empathy. This is the difference between building a house on shifting sand versus solid granite. If you miss this window, changing these behaviors becomes 10 times harder once they hit middle school. Think of it like this. American parenting is often reactive. We wait for the fire to start, then we try to blow it out with a leaf blower. Japanese parenting is architectural. They build the house so it's fireproof from the start. This isn't just about getting them to eat their broccoli. It's about their ability to hold a job in 20 years, their ability to be a good spouse, their ability to handle stress in New York City or London without breaking down. A massive study from the OECD found that children raised with these internalized rules are 40% more likely to be in the top tier of emotional intelligence by adulthood. The cost of ignoring this is a child who only listens when there is a threat, and eventually, you will run out of threats. So, what is the secret? It's called Shitsuke. It's a word that doesn't quite translate to discipline. It's closer to polishing or refining. It's the idea that a child is like a piece of beautiful wood that needs to be smoothed, not a wild animal that needs to be broken. There are 3 core pillars here. First, mimeshite, which means lead by doing. If you want a child to speak softly, you never, ever yell at them to be quiet. I know, it sounds simple, but how often do we scream, "Stop screaming"? In Japan, the parent is the mirror. If the child is chaotic, the parent becomes a statue of calm. Second, kanjo shite, the relationship first rule. In the US, we focus on the behavior. In Japan, they focus on the bond. They believe that a child who feels deeply connected to the parent will naturally want to please them. Disobedience isn't seen as a bad kid, it's seen as a broken connection. Third, and most importantly, Hansei, which is self-reflection. Instead of telling a child what they did wrong, you ask questions that force them to realize it themselves. Let's look at the difference in language. An American parent might say, "You hit your brother, go to your room." That child sits in their room thinking about how mean mom is. A Japanese parent would say, "When you hit your brother, look at his face. How do you think he feels right now?" And then they wait. They wait for the child to process the empathy. That is the moment the polishing happens. The science backs this up beautifully. A landmark study by Dr. Hiroshi Azuma followed hundreds of families in Tokyo and Chicago. The Chicago group focused on control. The Tokyo group focused on modeling and empathy. After 15 years, the Japanese children showed significantly higher levels of self-discipline when parents weren't even in the room, while the American children were more likely to cheat or break rules as soon as the authority figure left. Why? Because the Japanese kids had internalized the rules. They became part of their identity, not a response to a threat. In the prestigious Journal of Child Psychology, researchers found that children who practice Hansei reflection have a thicker corpus callosum. That's the part of the brain that connects logic and emotion. We are talking about literal brain growth through cultural practice. Okay, let's get practical. How do you do this starting tomorrow morning? You need to change your mindset first. Stop seeing yourself as a police officer and start seeing yourself as a mentor. Here is your 4-week Shitsuke challenge. And yes, it will be hard at first. Week 1 is the silence week. Your only job is to stop the yelling. Every time you feel that heat rising in your chest, you must walk out of the room. You are showing your child that big emotions are handled with big pauses, not big noise. If you catch yourself about to bark an order, stop, take a breath, and speak at a whisper. You'll be shocked. Children actually listen more intently when you whisper because it forces them to focus. Week 2 is the modeling phase. You stop telling and start showing. If you want them to pick up their toys, you sit down and start picking them up, silently. When they look at you, you say, "I'm taking care of our home because I love our space." And you keep going. Do not ask them to help yet. Just let them watch you find peace in the work. By day 4 or 5, their mirror neurons will kick in. They will naturally want to join the calm activity you've created. Week 3 is the why. This is where you replace "because I said so" with the logical ripple. If they don't want to wear a coat in the New York winter, don't fight. Say, "If we don't wear a coat, our bodies get cold, and then we might get sick and miss the party on Saturday. I don't want you to miss the fun." You are connecting their current action to a future consequence they actually care about. Finally, week 4, the reflection pivot. This is the Hansei technique. When they do something wrong, Instead of a lecture, you ask 3 open-ended questions. Question 1, what happened just now? Question 2, how do you think feels because of that? And question 3, what can we do to fix the heart we hurt? You are moving the control from your hand to their heart. You are training them to be their own judge and jury. Imagine the difference. Instead of David in Chicago being dragged to his room, he is standing there, thinking about why his sister is crying, and deciding, on his own, to bring her a toy to make it better. That is a human being who is ready for the world. Let's recap, because this is a lot to take in. We are moving away from the screaming culture that dominates so many American homes and moving toward the polishing culture of Japan. Remember, over 80% of people see an immediate drop in household stress just by implementing the whisper rule in week 1. This is about the long game. In 10 years, you don't want a teenager who hides things from you because they fear your reaction. You want a teenager who comes to you because they know you are a source of calm and wisdom. Start today. Pick one thing, just one, and instead of reacting with noise, react with a question. Look at their face and see the child, not the behavior. If you found this helpful, please share this with another parent who is struggling. We are all in this together, trying to raise a kinder, calmer generation. I've put a detailed Shitsuke cheat sheet in the description below to help you through the first 4 weeks. You can do this. Your peace is waiting on the other side of your silence. I'll see you in the next one.